Okay, word for word. Please repeat. Ye. Those who. Two. But. Aksharam. That which is beyond the perception of the senses. Anirdeshyam. Indefinite. Avyaktam. Unmanifested. Paripashite. Completely engaged in worshipping. Sarvatragam. All pervading. Achincham. Inconceivable. Cha. Also. Kutastam. Unchanging. Achalam. Immovable. Dhruvam. Fixed. Saniyamya. Controlling. Indriyagramam. All the senses. Sarvatra. Everywhere. Samabuddhaya. Equally disposed. Te. They. Prapnuvanti. Achieve. Mam. Me. Eva. Certainly. Sarvabhutahite. For the welfare of all living entities. Rita. Engaged. Translation, Srila Prabhupada. For those who fully worship the unmanifested, that which lies beyond the perception of the senses, the all-pervading, inconceivable, unchanging, fixed and immovable, the impersonal conception of the absolute truth, by controlling the various senses and being equally disposed to everyone, such persons, engaged in the welfare of all, at last achieve me. Please repeat. For those who fully worship the unmanifested, that which lies beyond the perception of the senses, the all-pervading, inconceivable, unchanging, fixed and immovable, the impersonal conception of the absolute truth, by controlling the various senses and being equally disposed to everyone, such persons, engaged in the welfare of all, at last achieve me. Purport Srila Prabhupada. Those who do not directly worship the Supreme Godhead, Krishna, but who attempt to achieve the same goal by an indirect process, also ultimately achieve the same goal, Sri Krishna. After many births, the man of wisdom seeks refuge in me, knowing that Vasudeva is all. When a person comes to full knowledge after many births, he surrenders unto Lord Krishna. If one approaches the Godhead by the method mentioned in this verse, he has to control the senses, render service to everyone, and engage in the welfare of all beings. It is inferred that one has to approach Lord Krishna, otherwise there is no perfect realization. Often there is much penance involved before one fully surrenders unto him. In order to perceive the supersoul within the individual soul, one has to cease the sensual activities of seeing, hearing, tasting, working, etc. When one comes to understand that the Supreme Soul is present everywhere, then one comes to understand that the Supreme Soul is present everywhere. Realizing this, one envies no living entity. He sees no difference between man and animal, because he sees soul only, not the outer covering. No, that has to be stopped. that has to be stopped during the class. But for the common man, this method of impersonal realization is very difficult. Makam krochi vachalam pangam laite grim yad kripa tamaham bande Shri Guru Dinatarinam. So, chapter 12, 3 and 4. Ye tvaksharam nirdesham avyaktam paryapashite savatra gam achincham cha kutastam achalam dhruvam saniyam yendriya gramam savatra samabudhayah te paryu prapnuvanti mammeva savabhuta hite rataha. But those who fully worship the unmanifested, that which lies beyond the perception of the senses, the all-pervading, inconceivable, unchanging, fixed and immovable, the impersonal conception of the absolute truth, by controlling the various senses and being equally disposed to everyone, such persons, engaged in the welfare of all, at last achieve me. Yes. So, Prabhupada's first chapter is very brilliant exposition of all the major points in the sloka. You see, but those, that means what? But who? That refers, of course, to verse number 2. The Supreme Personality of God had said, those who fix their minds on the personal form and are always engaged in worshipping me with great and transcendental faith are considered by me to be most perfect. But those. So those people that cannot take to Vaishnavism, personalism, they turn to the Brahman. So this is also transcendentalism. At the beginning of the Bhagavatam we see Brahmeti, Paramatmeti, Bhagavan iti sabjate. That the absolute truth has three aspects. One is the Brahman effulgence, one is the Paramatma, and one is Bhagavan, the Supreme Person, the Source. So the Brahman effulgence is the effulgence of the Supreme Lord. In the Ishupanishad, I think it's number 14, Haranmayena patrena satyasya pahitam mukam satyadamaya dristaye. Where is it now? Yes. Yeah, it starts at verse 15. O my Lord, sustainer of all that lives, your real face or your real form is covered by your dazzling effulgence, the Brahmajyoti effulgence. Just like the sun emits the sunlight, so Krishna's form emits the Brahman effulgence. Your real face is covered by your dazzling effulgence. Kindly remove that covering and exhibit yourself to your pure devotee. So beyond the effulgence of Krishna is the form. And then this idea is expanded in verse 16. O my Lord, O primeval philosopher. So immediately now we're going to the personal aspect of the Supreme Lord. Because he is saying, please display your form, your personal aspect. O my Lord, O primeval philosopher, maintainer of the universe, O regulating principle, destination of the pure devotees, well-wisher of the progenitors of mankind, please remove the effulgence of your transcendental rays so that I can see your form of bliss. You are the Supreme Personality of Godhead, like unto the sun, as am I. Your form of bliss. So of course, Krishna, beyond his effulgence, he has a form. and that form expands into the Paramatma. So you have the Bhagavan, we've discussed the Bhagavan, the source of all, and then the expansion of Paramatma, Supreme Soul. He regulates the material world. Sutre Mani Gana Iva. Everything is resting upon Krishna as Paramatma. He is regulating everything, regulating the demigods, regulating the material energy. And then there is the effulgence. And that also the Paramatma is source of effulgence. All the forms of Krishna are effulgent. But that effulgence is not a material effulgence. Try to understand. This material body perceives that light. Now if you turn that light so bright, these eyes will be overloaded and you can't perceive it properly. But the spiritual light, when perceived with the spiritual senses, the purified soul directly, is never overwhelmed by the unlimited illumination of the Brahmajyoti of Krishna. Because we are made of that same form, if you like. Mavaivangsa Jiva Loke Jiva Bhuta Sanatana. The living entities of this material world are my eternal angsa, part and parcel. But of course they're struggling with the material body and senses in this material world because of identification with the material body. But when the soul is purified and is identifying with Krishna and serving Krishna, then he perceives Krishna, he perceives Paramatma, he perceives the Brahmajyoti on the transcendental platform without restriction, eternally. I was listening to one lecture by Prabhupada, and he said, in this material world we have to eat, we have to sleep, we have to defend. Sex life is a necessity. We have to do these things. But eating exists in the spiritual world. Sleeping exists in the spiritual world. Defending exists in the spiritual world. All the rasas exhibit in the spiritual world, but there they are, where the living entity enters into them as a means of Leela. He doesn't have to eat like we have. This material body has to eat, or else it will die, starve. But the spiritual form enjoys the entities of the spiritual world, the Chit Shakti, without the pressure of necessity. So also in the spiritual world people rest, just like Mahavishnu. He's resting in the causal ocean on the couch made by Anantasesh, and he's entering into Yoga Nidra. But that is Leela. When we go to bed at 9 o'clock, we have to go to bed. If we don't sleep, it's very difficult to function the next day. But this is Leela. Eating, sleeping, mating, there is also, but there's no pressure like people are driven in this material world. Like the elephant going into musk. They go crazy. And then defending, there's no necessity there. In this material world, it's a competition for resources, position. So people fight and they have to maintain. But in the spiritual world, there's no need of that. Everything is automatically available. It's explained there are desire trees, and if you need something in the service of Krishna, or you want to enjoy some fruit, the desire tree will provide it. And there are Surabhi cows. Here the cow, gross body and everything, it will supply you milk. But the Surabhi cow will supply unlimited. And so the devotees in the spiritual world, that is the real situation. They are preparing all sorts of preparations, milk preparations and this and that for Krishna. But out of Leela, not out of necessity. So that is the realm of Bhagavan, that is Golok, that is Haridam. But down here we're regulated by Paramatma, and everything is resting on the energy of Paramatma, Krishna. Everything is regulated, regulative principle, and this is the conditioned life. Just like in prison, you're not free. But in the spiritual world, there's no liberation movements. Everyone is already liberated. They're liberated. Why, when they say we want liberation? Women want liberation, but why? Oh, men are supposed to be evil oppressors of women. And then there's this liberation, animal liberation. The animals are being oppressed by the industrials and this and that. No, everyone is free in the material world. People talk about liberation in this material world because they sense, though they may not like to admit it, that they are in prison. This is Durga Dham, Durga, very difficult to go, Durga. So, those that meditate on the Supreme Lord in His transcendental abode, they attain liberation. This Sat Chit Ananda Vigraha, at the beginning of the Brahma Samhita, Sat. So the Brahma Jyoti is the Sat aspect, eternity aspect. Eternal, immovable, as we see here. Then the Paramatma is the Chit aspect, expanded into the material world. That is the conscious aspect. So Paramatma is conscious of all the living entities. He is the observer. But he is sitting neutrally, and he is impartially ordaining the results of all the activities. I'll give you the verse. Yasvindra Gopam Atavendra Mahosva Karma Pandana Rupam Falabhajina Matanoti Karmadi Nirdahati Kinchu Chabakti Bhajam Govinda Madipurisham Tamaham Bhajami. Yes, it's towards the end. Yes, here it is. Yeah, that is verse 54, Brahma Samhita. I adore the primeval Lord Govinda, who burns up to their root all fruitive activities, the karma fall. In the material world, we're bound by karma, as we say, we're under control. Who burns up to their roots all fruitive activities, that means the karma fall is burnt up, who are imbued with devotion. Those souls that are imbued with devotion to the Supreme Lord become liberated. Because they become liberated from their pending karma. It is explained that every activity is like planting a seed. And the fruit, just like a seed will grow into a fruit eventually, or a plant. So if I'm a thief now, I'm planting a seed. And that seed will grow up into and produce the fruit of poverty or police catching me and throwing me in the jail. I'll get the fruit. But that's all burnt up. The seeds are burnt up. Everything. So that is the binding thing. Karma, time, death, these are all binding agents. But you become liberated when the consciousness is fixed upon the eternal. Right? Who imbued with devotion. And then, now this is very interesting, Krishna, in his form as Paramatma, impartially ordains for each the due enjoyment of the fruits of one's activities. So those that perform bhakti, they become liberated from karma fall. But those that deserve their karma, who want their karma in this material world, who are karmavadis, who want to get a fruit for their activities, Krishna impartially ordains that fruit. Whatever you get is what you deserve. Of all those who walk in the path of work, karmadi nirvana, in accordance with the chain of their previously performed works. So your previously performed works bear fruit. And they are impartially ordained by Paramatma. No less in the case of a tiny insect that bears the name of Indragopa, like a microbe, than in that of Indra, king of the Devas. So Krishna is impartially ordaining the karma phal, the fruit, even the little microbe. Inside that microbe body is a spirit soul. Inside the body of Indra is a spirit soul. And each one is getting exactly the fruit of the chain of his previously performed works. So that's Paramatma. And then you come to Bhagavan. So you have Sat aspect, the Brahman effulgence, Pramajyoti, Chit aspect, Paramatma, and then Ananda. What is Ananda? Ananda means bliss. But bliss doesn't exist without a perceiver. So Vigraha, Sat Chit Ananda, Vigraha means form and personality. You have to have a form and personality to tell you, I'm feeling good, I'm feeling bad, I'm feeling okay. So Vigraha, so the Ananda portion, that is particularly associated with Bhagavan. And also in terms of personality, the Sat aspect is under Vasudev, all-pervading. The Chit aspect is under Baladev, consciousness, because Baladev is the first expansion of Krishna, and from Baladev all the Purusha avatars and Paramatma expand. And then the Ananda aspect is Srimati Radharani. Radharani is the bliss potency, the Swarup Shakti, the Ladini Shakti, the bliss potency. She is the personality in charge of that, and then Vigraha is Krishna. So you have Vasudeva aspect, Chit Baladev, Ladini Shakti Srimati Radharani, and then you have Krishna Bhagavan. So the living entity wants to worship. This is the point. Why? Why this impetus to worship? Because we find that even the materially conditioned, they want to worship, do they not? They want to worship a sports star, or a musician, or a politician. They want to worship. Or the person worships his dog. Right? Oh, my dog is the most beautiful. I groom it and we take it to the shows. And last year it won the award, the most beautiful poodle in Bombay. So we want to worship. Why? Because Radharani worships Krishna and Krishna worships Radharani. They worship each other. That is bhajan. Bhajan, what does it mean? Bhajan, bhakti, same root, bhaj. It means to worship with love. So worship means that. It means to worship, to dedicate yourself with love. Just like a mother has a child, she dedicates herself and she worships the child. So we see that even the atheistic people have to worship someone. Right? They worship some political theorist that produces some political idea, and they dedicate themselves to world communism or world globalism or something, and they worship their football team. And there's that verse in the Gita, Yanti Deva Vrata Devam, right? Those that worship the Devas, the demigods, go to the planets of the demigods. Those that worship the forefathers go to the planets of the forefathers. Those that worship the Bhuta, Bhutani Yanti Bhuteja, they go to the region of the ghosts and spirits. But those that worship me, come to me. Now here in this verse, the previous verse, Krishna is explaining, those that worship my personal form, they very easily come to me. Because when they're worshipping and meditating upon me, they have my beauty and my leela to meditate upon. My strength, my renunciation, my opulence of the source of everything, my fame, my knowledge. This is all pervading the material world, the universe. Can you tell them to stop? Hello? Does this make any difference, the door? Tell them to stop till 6:30, 7 o'clock. 8 o'clock, we might go on too long. Anyway, so they worship the form of Krishna. Everyone wants to worship. That is the Dharma. And we get that from Krishna because we are the answer of Krishna. Which is the priority? Huh? The class or the hammer? Can we relax without disturbance now? Yes? Take the hammer out of his hand. You understand? So worship is innate to the living entity, but it's misplaced. But in this case we see, those that worship me, verse 2, they easily come to me. But those that don't have that knowledge, Vasudeva Savamiti, the Supreme All Lord, then they look for another aspect of worship. They may worship politics if they're materialist. But if they are transcendentalist, then they may, from their impersonalist guru, get information about the all-pervasive Brahmajyoti, Brahman aspect. And they worship that. And as Krishna, in the translation, Prabhupada says, they fully worship. That means they fully dedicate themselves. It's not just a part-time thing. And you will find that generally the atheistic or the impersonalist and also the Rakshasa type, they're not fully worshipping, but they know of the Brahman and they perform austerities to get potency to rule over the material energy. Because if you worship this light, this all-pervading light, through different yogic activities such as tapasyas, fasting, meditation, breathing exercises, so on, you can develop potency. And then with that potency, you can develop mystic power, and then you can exert yourself on a subtle and very powerful level on the material level. But that is not at all the interest of the Vaishnava. Because if you get this potency and exert yourself over the material energy, many demons do this. Hiranyakashipu in the Bhagavatam, right? He went away to perform austerities so he could conquer the universe. We can understand Bali Maharaj must have performed austerities to conquer the universe. But the potency that you get by your own efforts at austerity and meditation and gather up this Brahman energy, prana within yourself is nothing compared to the potency of the bhakta. Because the bhakta controls the heart of the Lord by his bhakti, by his loving devotion. Just like that is the most powerful thing. If somebody loves you, you become controlled by that love automatically, right? And it's more powerful than anything. If somebody has love for you, you feel obliged to that person. You are drawn to that person. So this is a very important point. But those that don't have enough knowledge, or who have been misled, or are interested in mystic power and meditating on Paramatma and Brahman effulgence and want to become super potent, if they become purified by this meditation. Therefore in the Bhagavatam we find, what's that? Akama, savakama, mukshakama, udharyadi, tivrena bhakti-yogena yajite purusham param. That whether it's akama, where you have no desire, sarvakama, all desire to enjoy this world, or mukshakama, you want liberation from this material world, then you should worship. The only intelligent path is to worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Because then you're going to the root. If you worship Paramatma through your meditation, your yogis tend to meditate on the all-pervading presence of Paramatma. The impersonalist meditates on the Brahman effulgence. If you worship these lesser things, you're not going to the root. You're going to steps away. And the Paramatma is impartial. That is the impartial aspect of Krishna. But Krishna, if you can evoke the mercy of Krishna, with what? A little Ganga Jal. Right, there was one old lady, when Prabhupada was staying in, it's a famous story this, before ISKCON Raman Reddy or anything, Prabhupada was staying with a few devotees in Radha Damodar temple up to the early 70s. This was only opened, I think, 75, this temple. 72. Later on. Anyway, so Prabhupada gave lectures in Radha Damodar on Nectar of Devotion. You should all listen to those lectures. They continued in Bombay. Anyway, so one time Prabhupada was staying there in his old rooms at Radha Damodar, and there was an old lady that used to take one of those big brass pots down to the Jamuna, fill it up, and bring it back for the deities' abhishek every day. So one devotee remarked to Prabhupada, and Prabhupada said, she'll go back to Godhead for that. For that simple dedication, just going to the the Jamuna, getting a pot for the abhishek, giving it to the pujaris. She'll get what? Mystic powers that can come and go. Money in the bank that comes and goes. The taxman will come for it. No, she'll get eternal life of bliss and knowledge in the transcendental abode. She'll get Swarup Siddhi. Her spiritual form will be developed under the direct supervision of the Supreme Lord. And then she'll enter the Vaikuntha atmosphere in Golok. Just for daily carrying, as an old lady, a pot of Jamuna Jal. Of course, there's nothing more valuable than the Jamuna Jal. So, that is a spiritual understanding. But that's the fact. So, therefore, Tivrena bhakti-yogena yajite purusham param. You're only intelligent if you worship Bhagavan. But those that have lesser knowledge, they want to worship, and they hear of the Brahman, the effulgence. And this is the impersonal aspect, if you like. Ultimately it's personal because it's the personal effulgence. But this is an impersonal aspect, and this does not make demands. You see, in the material world, the people are being exploited by those with power and position. So that which is superior to them, they have some kind of feeling, if I have to be very careful because the people are always exploiting me, they're taxing me, extracting. So worship God, what will He want? So they may, in this unpurified conditioned sense, not want to worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead, but they want to worship something spiritual. So therefore they take to breathing exercises. They may go to yoga classes and do breathing exercises, and the teacher there tells them, breathe and feel the golden effulgence. And they actually do experience the Brahman. Why? Very easily, actually, you can get to that. Because if you remember in the purport, Prabhupada says, if you overcome the distraction of seeing the material senses, if you can placate them, hearings, what is it? Hearing, touching, seeing, tasting, feeling. If you can overcome the distraction of the external senses, why is it easy to realize the Brahman? Because what is your nature? We're Brahman. Yeah, we're Angsa, like I say, we're Angsa of Krishna. So if we can withdraw the senses, this is called pratyahara. If we can withdraw the senses from the distraction and agitation of the external material world, then it is very easy to situate your consciousness within the self. And this is it not? The basic yogic process everyone knows. You sit down through breathing exercises, and it's in the different parts, earlier parts of the Gita, and then you say, I am not this. All the paraphernalia of this body, I am not. I withdraw my consciousness into this body. And then the next meditation is, but I am not this body, I am mind. So you're discarding identification with the gross body. And then, but I am not this mind, I am the consciousness within the mind. So then, through breathing exercises and meditations, the mind is peaceful. Oh, now I can feel my consciousness. I feel my expression. The expression of the soul is consciousness. But I'm not consciousness, I'm the soul. So let me find my soul. Let me find the root of myself. Now I'm situated in myself. But then the bhakta goes even further in smaranam. Now let me take myself and situate that self within the Supreme Lord, because I am his angsa. So this is the step-by-step process done by Jnana and Smaranam to withdraw the consciousness. In the conditioned life, it always flows out into the external gross energy. To withdraw it and find the self. So now the impersonalist mentioned here, he is fixing it on the Brahman and not situating himself at the lotus feet of Radha and Krishna as their eternal servant. He is situating himself within the Brahman. Right? So he's becoming purified. So therefore in 5th canto Bhagavatam, Lord Rishabhadev's teacher, Mahat Sevam Dwara Mahor Vimuktes, you know that section, Lord Rishabhadev's teaching. So it says, service to the Mahatma, Adwaram Vimuktesh, is the door to liberation. The door to liberation. And in the purport, Prabhupada, that transcendentalist, that Mahat, it can be impersonalist or devotee. It's there in the Bhagavatam. And you can check exactly the word for word and see the perfection of Prabhupada's translation. So if you actually worship the Brahman and meditate on the Brahman effulgence rather than the form of Krishna, Hiranmayena Patrena, then you will become purified. And you are fixing your consciousness on the Brahman effulgence, you'll become purified. And then from that purified condition, you can progress to Bhagavan realization. Because that Brahman, that Brahmajyoti has its root in the personality. Aham sarvasya prabhavo matak sarvam pravartate. Iti matva bhajanti mam buddha bhava samanvita. I am the source of everything material and spiritual. Those who know this engage in my bhakti. So it's a step along the way. So Brahmajyoti, meditation on the impersonal aspect, is good. But then the student, if he avoids offense, and now here Krishna is giving 3 things, right? He should be equally disposed to all living entities. He should be engaged in the welfare of all. And he of course, the first one I already described, where he should control the senses, equally disposed to everyone. He should be samadarshana. He shouldn't think, oh, this is a nice person, this is a bad person, this is an ugly person, this is my friend, this is my... He should be equal. But should he be impersonal? No. He should be engaged in the welfare of all. Now, if you read chapter 28 of Uddhava Gita, that's 11th canto, it's called Jnana Yoga in the Srimad Bhagavatam. That explains this mentality. And Krishna explains to Uddhava, he says, the Jnana Yoga means that exactly that. You should wander freely in this world, seeing everything equally, without attachment to anything. And then you should develop good feeling to everyone. You shouldn't remain in this impersonal thing. And then you can come into the association of great sadhus, and they, by their sadhu sangha savasiddhi, they can impress upon you, yes, you're doing wonderfully well, you're realizing the Brahman. That is your nature. When your senses are placated, you can realize your own self. But now, realize Hiranmayena Patrena. Go beyond that. Go beyond that. And the form. Because the energy, Brahman is what? Shakti. It is energy. Who is Shakti Mam? Yes, Bhagavan. So he's the inconceivable, wonderful, primeval philosopher. Right? So that is satisfying. Because we all have energy, do we not? We pick up things, go Mangalati chant. We're using our energy. Energy is under a person, the personal aspect. We are answer of Krishna, so the same principles in that sense apply to us. Krishna has energy. It is all embodied in Swarup Shakti Srimati Radharani. She is the embodiment of his personal energy. And we all have energy. And Radharani worship Krishna, Krishna worship. That is the bhava of transcendence. So we are also worshipping our energy. We paint the room and we think, look at that. I've painted the room. We clean the garden and a friend pops around and we take him round the back and we say, look at that, I cleaned the garden today. Oh, your friend said, well done. Now can I have a glass of water? So we're using our energy in a sense of worship. But bhakti means to use our energy, our mind, our senses in the service of Krishna. That is bhakti. That is yagi. Manmana bhavamad bhakto, put your consciousness on me in a devotional way. Madhyaji, do everything, all your dharma, all your activities as an offering unto me. Mam namaskaru, in a very humble way. And that will touch my heart, Krishna is saying. And then I'll say, come on Radharani, take him. Let's take him back to the spiritual world. We've got plenty of room. The spiritual world is not bound by material time and space. So Krishna is looking for an excuse. You understand? Krishna is Pita. Aham bija Pita. He's the father. Oh, my son. Even in the Bible, you know the prodigal son, the story? He wanders off away from the father, but then he comes back in a bad condition. Oh, Father, I missed you and I didn't engage in your service. Then the father says, never mind, come on. Come and sit down, have lunch. Mummy's making nice chapati. So that is the attitude of Krishna. But the Brahman effulgence, meditation on that is a good step along the way. But the problem is that sometimes the impersonalists, because of lack of knowledge, they say this is the ultimate. But that is not logical, nor is it Shastra. Om Ishvara Parama, Satchitananda Vigraha. Lord Brahma. What is that? Ete Kanksha Kala Pumsham Krishnastu Bhagavan Swami, throughout the Vedic literatures, and even Krishna himself, Aham Sarvasya Prabhavo. I am the source, I am the ultimate. What did Madak Parataram Nanyad Kinchid Asti Dhananjaya? There is nothing beyond me, Arjuna. Krishna tells Arjuna. So, this is good. Now, why this chapter deals, and over the next weeks, you'll see. You see, the Vedas has 3 kanda. Karma kanda, jnana kanda, upasana kanda. Upasana means bhakti kanda, worship. So also the Gita, because it is the summation, the Gita Upanishad of Vedic knowledge put into the Mahabharata, then it also, the first 6 chapters of the 18 are stressing karma. They develop karma, but in the direction of bhakti. The middle 6 are bhakti kanda, upasana kanda, and the last 6 chapters are jnana kanda. Jnana is good, because jnana, what did Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, he said to Lord Chaitanya, Vairagya vidya nija bhakti-yogena, right? He said, Sarvabhauma, the great Pandit at the time, he was a Mahatma, but he had impersonal conclusion. But of course, just like Prakasananda, he became converted to personalism by the touch of Mahaprabhu. So he said, yes, you have come to give bhakti that is characterized by Vairagya Vidya. That means Vairag. Detachment from material aspiration or material fruit. I'm doing this for some material fruit. Karma. And Gyan, Vairagya Vidya, Gyan, spiritual knowledge. So the last 6 chapters, they empower, if you like, or liberate bhakti from material conception. It's very important to get the right Siddhanta. That purifies you of misconceptions, Maya Shakti. Then bhakti can flourish nicely. So the last 6 chapters, they are Gyan. So this last chapter 12, which is the last of the middle 6, that develops devotional service. And if you look at the 6 chapters as a unit, it's all exposition of spiritual knowledge. And so at the end, now Krishna has revealed the universal form. He's revealed his opulences. He's revealed the secret knowledge. And so now he's going to explain the process of bhakti. Just like we explained last week, the last 5 verses of the Brahma Samhita. Do you all remember? 5 verses of bhakti. So now in this chapter, Krishna is giving the basic process. Okay, how shall I worship you? Arjuna starts by saying, who's better, the impersonalist or the personalist? Oh, Krishna says the personalist is the best. But if you're not ready for that, or somehow or other, then it's good. Worship the Brahman, but be equally disposed. That's all expanded very nicely in chapter 28, Uddhava Gita, 11th canto. And then, if you can't do that, you'll find this progressively. Different levels of engagement on the path are given. And that is also there, chapter 29. What is piety? Piety is to act in accordance with your qualification. That means, according to your particular state of consciousness and karma phala, engage accordingly. If you are in the neophyte stage, don't try to be a Paramahamsa by putting on Paramahesh. But if you're a Paramahamsa, don't let yourself come down to material activity. According to your particular level of development, act accordingly. So the Vaishnava knows this, and I've seen this in Prabhupada. Prabhupada never found fault with anyone, because they're all at their own particular stage of development, and I must give them guidance how to become elevated. Understand? And how to do that? Give them the holy name. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Now this process by Lord Chaitanya is applicable for everyone. You'll get different levels here, but everyone, neophyte, karmi, akarma, sama karma, muksha karma, everyone. If you want good karma, chant Hare Krishna. If you want to merge into the effulgence, chant Hare Krishna. If you want pure bhakti, chant Hare Krishna. That's the expansion of that verse. Just worship Krishna. Now Kali Yuga, where Krishna is worshipped in the holy name and by hearing the Srimad Bhagavatam. Shravanam, Kirtanam. Hearing, chanting. What will come next? Smaranam, naturally. And then Padasevanam. Your desire to serve the Supreme Person will come. So hearing and chanting, and then do it with a little sincerity. And Krishna, oh, look at that Radharani. He gave me a flower. He's my devotee. So it's like that. The Krishna, he's the father. He wants to take us all home. I'll tell you a story of Prabhupada. Prabhupada once had a servant in the early days of ISKCON, and he had some trouble with his senses. Right, 2025. He went off, and then he came back to Prabhupada after 6 months, and Prabhupada, I'm so sorry, I just went a bit crazy. Prabhupada said, I remember you make very nice rasgulla. Go to the kitchen, make me rasgulla. There was no big inquisition. Why did you do that? Why did you fall down? Why did you leave me? No. Oh, you make good laddu, don't you? Okay, I'll have some. Quick. So the devotee was there and back engaged. So that is Krishna. That is love, forgiveness, tolerance, acceptance. And so that is Krishna. And the Guru, the Mahabhagavat Guru, he exhibits that loving kindness. And he controls through that loving kindness. I've seen that personally. So that is the perfection. This is a very good way along. Because this is a natural idea, is it not? I remember when I first took up, before I met Prabhupada and Gita and everything, I used to meditate. So the oneness, right? That idea is very easy to absorb. Beyond the variety is the oneness of spirituality. Wow, man, that's far out. Right? So anyone can pick up that idea, and they all get benefit. But they must, by sadhu sangha, they can, after purification, they can come to perfection. So therefore, that's what Krishna says. By controlling the senses, equally disposed to everyone, such persons engaged in the welfare of all, at last achieve me. Okay, thank you all very much. Any question? Karmajan's not here. Any question? Good question? Bad question? Medium question? Yes, please.
You mentioned one Mataji taking. You mentioned one Mataji taking Yamuna Jal for Abhishek.
Yes.
Ramadan.
Yeah.
Okay. Chapter 5, Bhagavad-Gita, chapter 5,
Yeah.
text 6.
Sorry?
Text 6. Chapter 5, text 6.
Yes.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Karma Yoga chapter. Krishna says,
Go ahead.
merely renouncing all activities, yet not engaging in the devotional service of the Lord, cannot make
Yes.
us happy. but a thoughtful person engaged in devotional service can achieve the Supreme without delay.
Yes.
The word
Yeah. This is very yes. This is related closely. Yes.
na chirena adigachati.
Uh-huh.
That is without delay.
Yeah.
He attains without
That's the
delay.
personal aspect. Yeah.
Without delay.
Yeah. So this is the same idea, more or less. Yes. Merely renouncing activities, because Prabhupada, and of course that's obviously true. But Prabhupada makes that point very clearly many times in his lecture. You see, when you meditate on the Leela of Krishna, it's very absorbing. Krishna with the gopis, Mother Yashoda, the cowherd boys, this and that, the Bhagavad-Gita, Dwarpa, all Krishna's Leela, very absorbing, very interesting, very instructive, very satisfying. But if you meditate upon the oneness, the light, after half an hour you're going to think, I think I want to chat with my friends. You want, because we're active, we want interaction, right? So meditating on the impersonal oneness is very bland, you see. It's not satisfying. It doesn't catch the... So it has to be pursued through austerity. So therefore the impersonalists, they have to perform very strict sadhana. And you see, sometimes they have Kumbh Mela here, near Keshi Panigat, right? And they sit in the middle of the cow dung fires. I've seen that. And they do breathing exercises. They develop power in this way, by the Vairag. They develop power, there's no doubt. Don't play with these people. Don't get on the wrong side of them. They develop Shakti, there's no doubt. But it has to be pursued with a great kind of fixation and determination. But if you take shelter of the personality, like it says here, you can attain Krishna without delay, because Krishna is a person. You knock on the door, he'll open it. Simple as that. But if you meditate on the door, by chance it may open. That's not a bad analogy, it just occurs to me, by grace of sadhu. Right? So the effulgence is like the outside the house, whereas bhakti is like being in the house with Krishna. So the neophyte is just inside the lobby, taking off his shoes. Guru says, go and have a shower. And then he's progressively entering into relationship. So that is a fascinating, but that's very difficult to just, especially in Kali Yuga. Now in Satya Yuga, Treta Yuga, all the great rishis, they're meditating on the Brahman, they're becoming very potent, renounced, developing mystic powers. But that's dangerous, because if you exert those mystic powers in the material world, it'll come back on you. This is even people who practice witchcraft, black magic, they do similar things, they try to get power. But if you curse people, or this is a negative exertion of power, that curse may come back on you. You see? So you may develop certain Shakti, but if you use it within the material sphere, then you're going to get a material reaction. You see? So the Brahman doesn't give attachment per se to the Supreme Person. So you can slip out of Brahman very easily. So you have to have fixed determination, and you have to go to a cave in the Himalayas where you never see the form of a woman. You understand? And you have to eat 5 chickpeas a day and roots from the forest, and you have to be very austere. And then Krishna may give you some Shakti. But you're on the path, but you're still outside the front door. But yes, thank you very much. That verse is got the same idea. Okay, time for Aarti. Thank you all very much. Hare Krishna, Srila Prabhupada Bhagavad-Gita Sadhu Sangha Ki Jai.